It was a diversity and inclusion project manager or something
What
along
year
that.
is that?
This is 2009.
Wow.
I'd never heard of it. I mean, this company was very progressive, ahead of its time. So we're talking about diversity and inclusion that is now getting traction in 2009. Just so young and full of energy, but I have no idea how to progress. I just think like school, they're going to see all this and I'm just going to be lifted up. I also have no idea about salary conversations or negotiations when you're doing more what you do. So I'm just like, I'll carry on working hard and I'll just get everything that, they think is due to me.
So you graduated in 2007?
In 2008.
Oh, 2008.
In the heart of it.
Right.
Yes.
So then, obviously, like you said, it took about 7 to 10 months to come back to yourself. So when did you start looking for work?
Don't be fooled by the 7 to 10 months trying to come back to myself. I was still not going to be broke. In that 7 to 10 months, you're spot on. I couldn't get job on a graduate scheme or any of that stuff. Whether, I had this degree, great kind of outcome, all my experiences, etc. There weren't jobs like that, especially grad scheme jobs. They had stopped their hiring. And also, I hadn't been proactive with them because, like I said, I didn't know about that whole placement piece. I didn't know about the applications process. So I was really late to the game. There were people who at the start of my third year, even in their second year, had already secured offers. I just was oblivious. And I know a lot of people who are first timers in uni or don't have those kind of environments that will tell you this, can be clueless too. So after I tried and it was futile, I just couldn't get into anywhere. My first job that came through, I ended up going for an interview in Pimlico, which all sounds very nice, Had an interview in Pimlico, the guy loved me, the role was an admin role. I didn't really mind. I mean, admin, I was like, do quick things and then get some experience and move. And I dressed really nicely and I was just ready to go. And then he told me afterwards, so I'd done the interview, he told me afterwards, so the role is actually going to be on a construction site. I was like, what? But I'd already accepted because I was just like, I need cash. I need to do this. And so he told me it's going to be on a construction site. And I still dressed up on that first day. I got heels, pencil skirt on, jacket. Turn up onto the construction site and it wasn't a joke. And it was not a joke. And they led me to where I was going to be working. And it was in a warehouse that was cold and had no heaters, and everybody around me were actually builders. There was only high-vis jackets, and I was like, what have I said yes to? That was my first job. I worked on the Westfield Shopping Centre site when it was a construction site, and I initially was in a warehouse printing membership cards for builders. Like, they come onto the site, I take a picture of them, that picture goes in a machine, I give them their card. That's it. This is me all day long until I got sick because it was freezing cold. And I was doing that every day in overalls, freezing. I got sick and then I said to them, if I'm coming back to this work, please, just have me somewhere warm. So they took me into the porter cabin. And in the porter cabin on the site, climb up the scaffolding every day and then I'm in the cabin. They were doing logistics, so goods from Europe into the site. And as I looked at the people who were around, they were nice people. But there was I think somebody was looking after it. I had gone off sick. I was just around. So I said, if you want me to help, I can help out with this thing you're doing. Tell me what to do. By the time they told me what to do, I was like, I could streamline this process. I didn't know that's what it was called. But I was like, I could make it quicker. I could do more, I think. So in the time when this lady was off, they just told her, stay off. Because there's somebody else that's here. And that's how I became a logistics coordinator. It was just so I'm taking calls from drivers coming to site managers, shop fitters and all this stuff. I'm just like this. It's fantastic. But the contract was done within 2 months because it's all phased when you're in a construction cycle. And that was it. I was unemployed. And I remained unemployed for about 5 months.
So obviously you're a planner, right?
Yeah.
You think ahead. So where are you thinking now? What, are you 23, 22 now?
I was 22.
So are you thinking ahead, what you want to become?
Yes, I was. And I had finished that dissertation that I was doing and it was all, I'd understood that some of these organizations Now the thing that I was seeing was corporate social responsibility. So I was like,
Right.
that is how you get organizations to do the right thing and you still work for a prestigious organization. So I was like, I'm all about that. And I signed up to a mailing list that would tell me about corporate social responsibility jobs. I went to a couple of free events that were on Eventbrite or some sort of posting so I could learn about this stuff. I probably picked that up at some careers fair that, there's free events you can go to. And then I signed up to a mailing list that would tell me about those kinds of jobs. But I mean, those jobs seemed so far from my ability to attain them where I was.
So what happens next? When do you get your break?
I was supposed to go on a trip to Amsterdam with my friends. So from the construction site, I'd saved a bit of cash from there and I'd booked 6 months ahead a trip with some of my girls. I spent a bit of time in my church at the time, and it was a time of prayer. And during this time of prayer, I'd never really done that. I never really gone into prayer like that and faith believing and all of this. I was an absolute Christian, certainly, but to kind of fast and pray and, kind of all that, I was not used to it in any way. But I'm telling you, for the first time ever, I was in this period, this space, and I had just heard, don't go to Amsterdam. I was like, Joy, you're really taking this thing far. Yeah, you just need to rest, wake up and come back again. Again, we're in a prayer moment, etc. And I just really hear or sense in my spirit, don't go to Amsterdam. Just like, what is this? Third time, I hear, don't go to Amsterdam. So interesting. So just prior to that, I'd gone to the job centre because in all my applying, somebody said to me, though you've been just trying to save your money, you don't want to take money from the government, as hard as things may have been at points for your parents, they never did that. So you're not used to government support in any way. And we were always on the borderline. A friend said to me, to show that you've been actually looking for work, you should sign on at the local job centre and get job seekers allowance. This felt like a complete clash with my identity and who I felt I was. I don't need government help, I don't sign on to the job centre. And very interestingly, I remember when I knew I had to go and do that, because I'd also run out of cash, I got to the job centre and I just thought, what on earth am I doing here? How has it come to this?
Yeah, you got a 2-1 at a good university.
Yes!
You got a good A-levels.
Honestly, but it hits everybody. People actually go through so many things in life. And that's why I think at that point I was so humbled that you never judge, when people are in a place that you may say I would, because you don't know how people got there. You don't know people's stories, similar to me. Yeah. And interestingly, I think I remember seeing a friend from school who had actually gone to school, even had some time in jail, come out, and we're now meeting in the same place. I'm like,
The humility is real.
The humility was so real. So I got humbled. And when I got back home, I was furious with the state of things. So I just violently picked up the phone. I'm calling everybody. And a lady picks up who is actually calling people who have applied to her for a graduate scheme or this kind of thing. So I proactively call because there's a number attached. The call goes so amazing because my passion now, I'm like, I must get hired. And so she then says, look, there's an assessment centre that's coming up in just a few days, or there's one in a few months. I think you should go for the one in a few. Before she finished, I was like, nope, I am going for the one in a few days. I go for this one in a few days. I'm successful in it. They do a whole Dragon's Den type thing. And they're like, your group has got through. I then get trained up and am ready for work. And the way they work is they take your CV, you pass the initial stage and they put you in the final stage. That was the benefit of it. So don't go to Amsterdam. This is why it's relevant. Because I then drive my friends to the airport for a trip that I have paid for, everything that I wanted to go for. And I drive back home in obedience to this sense I'm feeling in my spirit, only to get home about to cry because I'm like, what are we doing here? This was my one thing I was looking forward to. And my phone rings. And they say, oh, hi, this agency has given us your CV, the one I passed the assessment centre for. And they said, the interview is actually on Monday. This was a Friday. It was a weekend away in Amsterdam I was going to do. Wow. They're like, this interview is on Monday. Would you be interested in coming along? I only had that weekend to study this company. Had I gone to Amsterdam, this is not the days of 4G, 5G. This is like 2008. So there was no way I was getting that call or even the kind of service, internet, etc., to be able to be on my phone in the distraction of Amsterdam. So I able to do all that study, get to the interview, even despite getting there late. Don't be late to your interviews. It's avoidable. I actually got that job. That job
Where was that?
Was in Old Street. It was in a tech startup, telecom startup. And I got a role as a business development manager. That broke the cycle of unemployment for me. And it was just like, whoa. That's where I got my breakthrough.
So how long were you there for?
I was there for 4 months. And I was there for 4 months because it was a recession. They couldn't get contracts with the companies that they were trying to get into. But during that role, I had met somebody who was part of my childhood church, that church I was talking about that was quite, well-to-do, etc. Or not even necessarily well-to-do, just good peoples. That's what it was, good peoples. We didn't even know who we were, but I took this one break during that time. And on that lunch break, I bump into this lady. We don't know where we know each other from. Remember, it's the church. Sit down. And interestingly, that very morning, I'd seen an emblem on that jobs site that I'd been looking at, all the corporate social responsibility jobs, and a dream job came through that morning. And I remember thinking, oh, what joy it would be to have a job like that. I'll leave it. Sunny day. Okay, I'll go for a stroll, meet this lady, sit down with her, talking about my life so far, what she's been up to as well. And then she points to an organisation. She says, oh, and I work there now. And I looked at it, and the emblem I feel like I saw in the morning, I saw it on the wall of where she says she worked. It's like, nah, can't be. But the thing was niggling, so I said to her, I think I may have seen a job for this organisation that you are. And she said, no, we've just had a major merger. We're not hiring right now. We're actually letting go of people because we've got duplicate jobs. I was like, oh, okay. But then I felt to just push a bit more. I said, would you mind if I took your email address? Just if in case it is real, you can let me know if it doesn't exist and I won't even think about it anymore. I get to my office, back to my desk. Lo and behold, it is the organisation. I'd never heard of it. That's why I didn't know whether it was real or not.
Yeah.
And so I send it to her and she's just like, it's real, it's live. And like, it's an area that I know of. I know well, I know people in the area, etc. Little did I know that was the beginning of relationships that help you to be ready and prepared for different roles, like having mentors or sponsors. I knew nothing about that at the time, this was what was happening. So this lady, she helped me to cut my CV, a CV I thought was great. She said, this won't even get you through the front door. Just really supported me to get ready for something I had all the potential for, but didn't think I was ready for. And eventually, there was a job I'd applied for. It was about 5 stages of interview. I got down to the final 2 while still working at that other place. And as when I got down to the final 2, I was waiting for the feedback as to whether I would, get this job or not. I believed it was going to be my job. I'd done a lot of faith activity, like believing, prayer, standing on the word for it. And I found out that actually it had gone to the other person. And I was devastated. I remember being on holiday with friends with the money that I made in that job. I made another holiday in the future, happen. And then I came back to the UK only to find I got made redundant. So that was how I got made redundant.
So now, because obviously I'm thinking about how is your confidence level now at this stage? Because obviously you're in and out, and obviously we're in a recession now. So
I know
the news is not really saying anything positive about people getting hired. So
correct.
Where are you now in terms of, obviously you're looking for new roles, you've got this new mentor, so your CV's better now.
Absolutely.
So where do we go next?
So where we went next was where I'd kind of been just the year before, where I'm putting this CV out, and again I get feedback on a role, but again they say I'm overqualified for that another admin role, so like I do a year's loop and I'm now back to the start, and it's an admin role. But again, like I said, me needing to make sure that I had income. I mean, I was in my parents' house. There was always going to be food there and love there, just as my whole childhood had been. But I did need to kind of start standing on my own 2 feet. So I took this job that came up. Again, I was overqualified for it. But when I was in there, I would finish all of my work, and then I'd still see people around me working. So I was curious. I was curious about what was going on. And I was also willing. I was just like, I can help with anything you need help with. And so they started to allow me to help them out with different things. So I started to pick up different skills in sales, skills in marketing, skills in procurement, even though I was only in there to do admin, skills in communications. So about 3 months later, I get this email from a name that seems familiar, but I don't know who the person is. And it was the hiring manager for the job that I didn't get in the summer, the dream job.
Wow.
Hiring manager messages me and she says, "Hi, Joy. I don't know if you remember me. We interviewed you for a role and, unfortunately that wasn't successful, but I've seen another role and I just think it would be perfect for you. But the deadline is closed. But if you've got a CV and cover letter, I could still receive that and put it into the process." I was like, what? So I was taken aback by it, but I was just like, sure. So I, put my CV and cover letter together. It's the same organization. So I speak to that lady who I know works there. And then I submit this application. I am not kidding. I had never heard of this job. I'd never heard of this job. It was a diversity and inclusion project manager or something along that.
What year is that?
This is 2009.
Wow.
I'd never heard of it. I mean, this company was very, very progressive, ahead of its time. So we're talking about diversity and inclusion that is now getting traction in 2009. So when I read the job brief, though I'd never heard about the job, it was my life. It was like, talked about working with Black people, who are underrepresented, women that were underrepresented at that time, people with disabilities. I'd worked with all those special needs children. I really had a sense of that. People who learned differently, like me. I wasn't really a reader. That affected me quite a bit at uni, but I was a vocal person and very expressive. And when I did read, it was quite scientific the way I used to read. So I understood neurodiversity as well. Even from the LGBT piece, I had been surrounded in university by people who were LGBT because it was Brighton and Sussex. I woke up to that when I got to uni because I didn't realise Brighton at that time. So all of these different experiences basically made me the perfect person for this role, but I'd never heard of it. So it was 2 interviews and I had the job. In my dream organisation, the place that I had believed for by faith that I was even going to get a job in, and I was there. I hadn't even applied for this job. It applied for me, but it had come through network. And I didn't even know what network was at the time.
Got it.
But these were the early building blocks of woke up work, I was so oblivious and naive at that time. But these things were things that worked together for my good to get in.
So how long were you there for, this organization?
I was there for nearly 3 years, 2 years and about 9 months, and literally took what was a kind of pilot and turned it into an actual business function that had won awards, that was literally operating ahead of its peers. And I actually then got headhunted from there into banking.
Who did you work for? What was the transition?
So I went from a financial services company, but more media and financial services, into an actual bank.
Right. And how are you feeling within yourself now? Because obviously the cycle of part-time jobs, working, not working, signing on, those days are behind you now.
They were way behind me. But I met a new challenge.
Right.
And the new challenge that I met was, I love my job. I have freedom to kind of release all my ideas. The organization is benefiting from way more than what I was hired to do here. I'm unofficially leading maybe 20 different people and just so young and full of energy, but I have no idea how to progress. I just think like school, they're going to see all this and I'm just going to be lifted up.
Right,
I also have no idea about salary conversations or negotiations when you're doing more what you do. So I'm just like, I'll carry on working hard and I'll just get everything that, they think is due to me. Of course, that's the case. You will get everything that they think is due to you if you do not ask for what you need. So I got everything that was due to me. And what was due to me? What I signed up for when I said, okay, right at the beginning. And so it was only when I started going to networking events, which were again brand new to me.
In the bank, when you were working in the bank?
Yeah, because my type of role, learning what other organizations are doing, hearing from different speakers, this was the kind of role. And when I had got to those networking events, that's when people would start talking about salaries or talking about their levels or talking about, their packages and different things once you build rapport and familiarity with people. I was hearing all of these things. I was like, but what you have told me, compared to what I'm doing, you're not even doing what I'm doing. And you're telling me a lot more than what I'm opening each month, you know? So I was just like, what is this? And then these colleagues in the same industry would say to me, look, just go online. You'll see like in particular jobs websites where you can see what's the average pay for your sector.
Right.
When the naive me logged on to a space I had not logged on before, and I had to even just do almost like Pinocchio looking, am I a boy? You know, like, just like, what has been going on here? And with that realization that I was quite underpaid for what I was delivering, because it started off as a pilot and I had just lifted it to a really established space with, I mean, great support from the organization, but it was just, what's going in my pocket? It's like that wasn't being supported. That growth, everything else was going great, but my pockets. So I had a review, and it was nerve-wracking. I was thinking, so am I going to challenge these people who are almost like work parents to me? You know, challenge them for more pocket money. It's so weird.
Yeah,
like,
it is weird.
It's like that,
when you've not done it before.
You've
right? When
never
not
done
actually...
it. Yeah, and you're young and naive, and your family just think it's amazing that you're in this, you know, massive company, etc. So some of these nuances, again, where Woke at Work, my book, came from, because at that time I really didn't know. So I'm sitting in there and nervous about how to bring it up, but I'm like, you just got to push past this. I'm talking myself, you know, into, and I just explain, you know, I love what I'm doing, but you know, I have looked online and I can see that for this actual role, I should be getting significantly more. And I just think for what I'm doing, I'm not really being recognized in what I'm currently on. Heart's beating, you know, it's just like, am I saying this? And so, interestingly, the response back was basically around these lines: Joy, you are doing a great job, and definitely it's above and beyond. Yep, we recognize that, but we didn't ask you to do that.
Jeez, recognition at its highest.
I was like, as I'm hearing these kind of words, like, we didn't ask you to do that, I was just like, someone's just pouring freezing cold water over my body. It was like, that was the moment, I think, of the first Woke at Work moment. Because I was like, skip-de-dee-doo-da, I'm just going to carry on doing all this stuff. Brrr. And then I was just like, you've just slapped me in my face, but you're smiling. And this is a very smiley environment, but this is a hot slap. And so when I left that meeting, I just went and found my CV. A CV I've not seen for the time that I'd been there, because I was just enjoying in oblivious land. I just found my CV and I just started updating all the stuff. I just couldn't believe it. But interestingly, someone I'd met at an event, and I'd been meeting them every 6 months or so, our meeting came up, and this person then says to me, oh, hey, Joy, my meeting came up with them. I was telling them about all the stuff I'm doing like I usually do, talking. And they were like, is this area where you always wanted to be? Like, is that where you'd always wanted to be? And I didn't even really understand the angle of the question. So I was just like, not necessarily, I kind of just fell in here, to be honest. But I love doing this type of thing, and I do this, and I've seen this outcome, and I'm like this. And then they said to me, we're going to have some roles coming up soon. I think you should really go for it, because I think this is the kind of energy I need in my team. In that moment, I was like, shh, stop. If my managers are around here, they will now hear that someone's trying to steal me. This is an illegal conversation. We must stop.
You're joking.
I felt like, what is happening here? You're telling me about another role? This is not allowed. I couldn't believe it. That was my reaction.
Wow.
I was like, this is not allowed. I'm breaking some sort of rule. I'm loyal to them. They are my I did not know. I did not know what I don't know. I did not know that this is how conversations start. I did not know that this is how you can carve out your path. I did not know headhunting didn't mean heads get chopped off and you're hunting. But this is actually someone seeing your talent, seeing you could be a great fit and telling you that. I did not know.
Wow.
So this lady said to me, well, look. She could see my reaction. So she's like, you don't have to think about anything now, commit to anything. But why don't you just send me a CV? That CV that I'd printed off, that I didn't want it to be left on my desk, was in my handbag. So as God would have it, I just reached into my bag and I'm looking at a CV and handing it over going, how have I been prepared for this? And I gave her my CV. And she invited me over for what she called chats, but they were formal interviews. And so every time I went over for these chats, it was like steps towards this job. And by the time I'd done the chats, I got offered a role that paid me almost 30-40% more than my current salary and transitioned me from that world into a brand new world, my world of banking, which I'm in right now.
Wow, your story is incredible.
It is. As I'm hearing it, I'm just like, whoa, man. Anyway, yeah.
So, when you come back, we have to go into part 2, because I know there's more to talk about there. But tell us about your book.
So, Woke at Work is the manual I wish I had given myself at uni and known that, you know, this is the journey that you follow, and also this is the way the world of work works, and this is how you progress.
Got it.
It's a book that takes you from what do you need to do to put your best foot forward in work. If things go a bit funny, here's how you get back on track. These are the moves you make and the things you can look out for so that you can accelerate quickly. I don't believe in people just being handed things when you're not ready for it, because you can then fail and affect other people who are like you from having a similar opportunity. I do believe in being ready and doing the right thing and showing up as your best self in work.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Woke at Work shapes you to do. And then it also looks at things that we might find unusual or difficult to do, like me having those conversations with that lady, or, you know, not knowing how to deal with a headhunting conversation, etc. Just being able to stop this being a mystery or a scary thing or feeling like you're doing anything wrong because it doesn't happen in your world. So Woke at Work is a leveler book. It levels the playing field. It puts the person who had a more modest upbringing at the same level as someone who's been to a private school and they've got their ammunition and they've got the family network that's going to help them do. This book helps people so that their potential is not cut off because they don't have information for the corporate world. So I really want that book to be in the hands of people who are like me. And I've now realized, honestly, they could be from any background. But I definitely know we talk quite a lot about, you know, Black people being in organizations and not progressing. And it's a true thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not the ability at all. It's the savviness for how you move, what you move, the conversations that you have, the prep that you do, the people that you know. It's a combination. Woke at Work helps you to be strategic about that.
Yeah, fantastic.
And operating in the virtual world as well. I have a whole module on that, you know,
Brilliant.
so that you can...
So where can we get the book?
On Amazon! And you can read like reviews from lots of people who have read it and it's empowered them and it's changed their world. And, you know, I've had opportunity to speak in lots of different places about the book and to people. So there's going to be a lot more around that. And coaching around navigating the workplace will come up in 2022 as well, which is really exciting.
Excellent. Well, thanks very
Yes.
much for your time, Joy. And obviously sharing your story. I know it's going to touch a lot of people as well as make us laugh. So brilliant stuff that you've been doing today. But yeah, thanks very much. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Cheers. Cool.
Forward.